Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. As you've seen in the last video, Sam and I used this contraption to get the wedge out of the machine and put a different wedge in. So we put the standard 7-way box wedge in with this apparatus. This is a Deere gambrel that you can slide into the receiver of a truck. So it extends up. I actually extended this 6 inches so I could have the reach to be more centered over the wedge. And I added another support in here because I added 6 inches in between there. So it does pivot, as you've seen in the video, which makes it pretty nice. And this I got from Vevor. This is actually a 55-gallon drum or a 30-gallon drum. It's a drum sling, basically, to pick up drums of fuel, oil, antifreeze, whatever. So I had to do a little modification on it because the opening here was exactly 1 inch, and that's how thick the steel is on these wedges. So I had to do a little modification on that, but as you've seen in the last video, it worked out pretty well. So both these items are from Vevor. I'll put a link in the description if you guys are interested. But other than that, Sam and I are going to split into these big ones over here. We did split one big one in the last video, so we're going to split into these big ones that Sam's sitting on. So like I said guys, Sam and I are going to split into this bigger stuff and see how it goes. A lot of it is nice straight grain stuff, so we shouldn't have too many problems, but there is a couple with some knots in, and we'll see how it goes. This is my personal firewood to burn for my home heating purposes. That's why we changed out to the standard 7-way, and just to make those nice bigger pieces for my stove. So anyway guys, we're gonna get started, so stick with me and we'll get right to it. Alright guys, I noticed a knot right away, and we're trying to maneuver it here, but we actually decided to just leave it down and see how it goes. It actually didn't go too bad. Normally I put the knots to the top and it works out a little better, but with this round it just pushed right through that knot, no problem, and the rest of the round here was easy peasy. I can't help to notice all the really nice wood that comes out of these box wedges, man. This type of wood, this bigger wood, is definitely what these box wedges are made for, and man, does it make it freaking nice. Nice symmetrical wood, stacks easy, and a lot of it's barkless, so I believe it dries faster without the bark on. So I don't know, that's just my opinion, but this red oak, these big red oak rounds make the nicest wood that anyone could ask for. Elaborate a little bit more on these box wedge machines. To me, all of these bigger machines from the 1222 up to the 3070 were made for box wedges. They're very powerful machines. They make excellent wood. Like this piece of wood here, there's a knot or something in the center there. You see how slow it went that last time compared to the time it went before. So take your time, you look at it, you flip it over. You don't necessarily need to flip it over, but I flipped this one over because it would have just kept splitting through that knot. But now that it's flipped over, it's splitting a little easier, and you're just shaving that knot down to where it's basically nothing for the machine to push through. I'm not sure if Andrew decided to make them this way, but I believe he made these bigger machines, like I said, the 1222, 37D, 24D, 2228, made them specifically for these box wedges. They work perfectly with these machines, and you can make a ton of wood in a hurry with a box wedge and big rounds like this. I've made decent wood with a 4-way squares like this, but it takes time maneuvering that wood around, taking your quarters back, putting them on the log lift. You know what I mean? This box wedge takes all that time out of it, and having a conveyor takes a lot of the work out of it. And then having a dump trailer takes a lot of the work out of it. There's a lot of different machines you can get to make splitting wood a lot easier than it has to be. You know what I mean? It all depends what you're willing to spend and how much time you're willing to save in doing the job of splitting your own wood or wood that you're planning on selling down the road. You know what I mean? So a lot of people don't like these box wedges. I love the box wedge, and if I had to have any type of wedge, this would be the wedge I would go with. Hands down, no more questions asked. I mean, yes, it can't handle a real gnarly wood, but we can cherry pick the wood that we get. You know what I mean? I roadside log. I'd cherry pick the crap out of that. I'd bring home the best of the best wood that I could find down there just to make my life easier. You know what I mean? Now you'll see me throw some bigger pieces from the outside edge back onto the log lift. I didn't necessarily need to do this, but I wanted it to be a little bit smaller. You know what I mean? I do leave some go by just for a little longer burn time. You know what I mean? But with how square this wedge makes the wood, you can stack the wood in your stove to make it burn longer. You can fit more wood in your stove and less air gaps between the wood with the wood in this shape. It just makes everything so much easier to do. Having a box wedge, having your wood symmetrical in shape makes the burning experience better in a stove and or campfire or a boiler. You know, you can just fit more in there by stacking the wood together. You know what I mean? The less air you have, the less air you have moving around the wood, the slower it's going to burn. You know what I mean? That's why people like throwing bigger pieces of wood in their stove, because there's less surface area for the gasification to start on the wood, therefore making it burn longer. Alright guys, watch this first split on this piece here. It wasn't quite cut square on the side at the push block, and it made the wood nosedive towards the tray there. Therefore, picking the back of the splits up and shearing off the end. That's one of the downfalls with the box wedge. If your wood's not cut square, you're going to have pieces like that kick up and shear off the edge. Alright guys, right here you can see the wood twist a little bit, and didn't quite go through as straight as it did the last time. And I just whacked Sam's hand. Never fails. Whenever Sam and I are working together, I normally smash one of his fingers doing something. Obviously it was unintentional, but like I said, it never fails. I'm always smashing Sam's fingers. I'm not sure why, but it just happens all the time. Alright guys, as you can see where that knot is, or was on that log, it is in the down position. So the splitter's cutting through that knot right now. I did sharpen this wedge, so it helps out a lot to sharpen your wedge if you have some knotty stuff. The 1222 will push through it. It's just a little slower than, I guess, a nice clear piece, but it will push through. It will cut through these knots without a problem. The best thing to do is try to get your knot up. That way you can watch as the round's going down and work your way around the knot. But obviously, if you can't, then you just push through it like we're doing here. Like I said, the 1222 has plenty of power, and again, if you sharpen your wedge, it will help out immensely. Really could have got me back right there, but he decided not to, I guess. Probably would have hurt a little bit more since I don't have any gloves on. But again, I apologize to Sam for smashing his finger again, but those 8 rounds, I think it was, went through without a hitch. The conveyors are working great, and it's just been a pleasure working with this conveyor now that it's working great.
I think my wife needs to buy me one.
Well, you're the one with the outdoor boiler. Those
are nice pieces for a boiler.
Yeah, but this 7, I mean, you can go thicker too.
Yeah, I know.
So,
well, that's the same one that Dan's using, right? On the 37D?
Well, I think he has a standard in now, but they do.
Oh, no, he has a 5-way.
They do make the 5-way.
He has a 5-way.
Yep. I don't even know for.
Well, I can only imagine then what the 5-way is doing, because those are nice pieces. Like, I'll put those in the boiler all day.
Yeah. And I mean, for years we split Sam's stuff like as big as we could basically split it. As long as he could handle it and throw it into the damn boiler, it was good.
I'm not getting any younger.
Right. And the way these machines make them, where they're nice and square, they're much easier to stack. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think the box, you can't beat a box wedge for anything. Any type of wood you want to do, you can do with a box wedge.
Especially the operator.
Right. Sam's over here just working his butt off, and I'm just pushing a lever and maybe
I'm drenched.
Maybe moving the piece of wood here a little bit. But hell yeah, that was, I don't even know how long it took.
Probably 15 minutes.
Probably around 15 minutes to run, what was it, 7, 8?
Like 8, I think.
8 big rounds. And we got
if you count the first one we did.
Yeah, we got a pretty good heap in the trailer. Let me go show you that. And they're all nice, symmetrical. It's gonna be awesome looking in a stack. Nice square chunks, just really pretty wood for me to burn in my house.
Yeah, you got a little bit of separating. There's some smaller pieces you could probably put over for the stand wood.
No, that's 18. That's 18 inches. So
oh, that's right.
I'll just use it for.
I forgot you cut it longer.
If I'm home, I'll just throw a bunch of that stuff in there and
still burns.
Burn it. Yeah. I mean, as long as I'm home and I can keep at it, I mean, that stuff burns up pretty quick. But if I'm home, all I gotta do is feed the fire. It's too easy. So, let me show you this pile here, and we'll close this thing out. I'll show you my personal wood and what my plans are with that once I get a bunch of this stuff split and the trailer actually full. There's what came off the Grizzlies.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Lots of fine stuff. Now you do get stuff like that falls out. Like the Grizzlies don't get everything, but all that stuff is not in the trailer jamming it up when I go to stack. So it's no big deal. But there is the nice big pile of red oak home heating wood. Got 2 on the ground here I got to pick up. It is. As I say, Sam's the one with the boiler, but he said this stuff coming out of the standard 7-way box wedge would be pretty nice for the boiler also. So, I mean, they do make a 5-way, which you'll get a little bit bigger chunks. But like I said, we weren't even halfway on the adjustment for the raising the wedge. And like I said, you can make them as thick as you want, you know what I mean? So, and that big stuff goes by pretty quick. There's probably over 1/3 of a cord in here, if I had to guess. Oh, maybe a little less. But that was 8 rounds, 8 big rounds. So my plan is to move this awesomely seasoned wood right up to here and then continue on afterward. From what I have here, I definitely have enough for next year and probably possibly into the following year for heating wood, but I don't want to get behind either. That's why I'm splitting this stuff for myself. My buddy Ian and I cut all this wood up, so there's plenty to split here, plenty to do, as long as the weather holds off. It looks like it might want to rain here in a little bit. Anyway guys, that's all I have for today. There's the standard 7-way in action. Makes really nice wood, just like the pizza wedge or the bundle wood wedge. Just doesn't have to struggle so much because it's not making such small splits. The bigger the splits, the easier it is on the machine. And we did run into a couple knots, but it seemed to push through pretty good. Anyway guys, it's starting to rain now, but if you like this type of stuff, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave a comment down below, tell one of your friends. I'll see you guys in the next one. Woo! But other than that, Sam and I are gonna split into these big ones over here. Sam likes to settle on the big ones.
Oh yeah, baby.
All right guys, like I said, we're gonna split into these big son of bitches here. Yeah.
You want remind them again that this is your personal heating wood, so that's why it's bigger.
Ah. So I put this. Let me just start over again.